I am a huge fan of seasons 1 and 2 of The Umbrella Academy, guys. This show has been so good, but season 3, man, it's What's going on, everyone? James here with another real review, and today we're getting into my spoiler-free thoughts on The Umbrella Academy Season 3. Yes, there will be no spoilers moving forward because, yeah, you kind of don't want to get spoiled when it comes to this show, but it does debut on Netflix June 22nd. A huge thank you to Netflix for giving me the chance to watch this early for review. I cannot wait to talk about each and every bit of Season 3, at least as much as I can. But before we get into it, guys, if you're a little lost on exactly where we are at in the timeline, let's catch you up to speed. It's another 10-episode season, and this time, well, we find our Umbrella Academy with a new foe, the Sparrow Academy. And Netflix describes this season like this. After putting a stop to 1963's doomsday, the Umbrella Academy return home to the present, convinced they prevented the initial apocalypse and fixed this timeline once and for all. But after a brief moment of celebration, they realize things aren't exactly how they left them. Enter the Sparrow Academy. Now, the end of Season 2 got me so excited for Season 3, but did I love it? Well, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. So before we get into my review, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies and TV shows like this all the time. So if you do too, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on the bell, and hit the thumbs up button if you are a fan of the Umbrella Academy, and get loud down below and let me know which season is your favorite, 1, 2, or 3. You're gonna know which one is not my favorite by the end of this review. So you know what? Let's go ahead and get into this and talk about the show. I'm gonna start with the positives because I want to remain optimistic. Now, I really do love our main cast here, and through 2 seasons, they were excellent, but in Season 3, there are also some really strong performances. Let's start with Emmy Raver-Lampman as Allison. She is probably my favorite character in the show, her and then Ben, but man, Allison is just excellent again in Season 3. There's a great deal of character development with Allison, and there's a turn that she makes as well that I didn't see it coming, so it definitely surprised me. But I felt that her character turn made sense. This is really the most layered performance as well of the season, so kudos to the writers for finding that in-between for Allison where she's stuck grappling with trauma, past regret, Ray and Claire, etc, etc. She's been through it, so this season is a lot of unpacking for her, and trust me, it is worth it if you're an Allison fan. But the next performance that stood out to me was Elliot Page's performance as Viktor. He was really good in this season, and I love how they handled Viktor's transition from Vanya to Viktor in this season. It was really well done, and it didn't seem convenient just because, oh, timeline shift. No, they made it make sense, and I can't tell you how, but trust me, it works. And I really like that the writers showed some class because it was more about Elliot transitioning to becoming a man, which mirrors what happened in real life. There are some scenes here, guys, especially I believe in episode 3 or 4, where I start to notice that maybe they're not acting and this is actually them crying on each other's shoulders. It is so emotional at times, and that is when the show really is hitting its stride and it's at its best. And there's also this very cool stretch of episodes between 4 and 5 that involves Viktor and someone else that really helps to build the character of Viktor in an effective way. So we got Allison and Viktor, 2 characters that I felt were super strong and their actors delivering strong performances, but there's a third here, and that's Aidan Gallagher as 5. Now, 5 is an incredible character, and I know he's a lot of fans' favorites here, but man, he is so darn excellent in this season. Aidan Gallagher brought so much bravado to the role of 5, and honestly, he is struggling with his will to save the world yet again. Now that is interesting because in seasons 1 and 2, 5 was so gung-ho about saving the world, but in season 3, you start to learn that maybe he's not. And I love that about the character because there's growth, there's character development here. But Aidan Gallagher, man, he does an excellent job, and I really loved all the humor, the comedic timing, and his chemistry with his co-stars. And speaking of chemistry, season 3 does a pretty darn good job as well at pairing up some characters that make for some really strong duos throughout the season. And that starts with Diego and Lila. Man, David Castañeda and Ritu Arya really have this natural chemistry together. I love both of them individually, but together in this season, they had some of the more memorable moments, and I think that both of them really did a good job at growing together. And I can't really say why that happens in this season, but when you do get there, you'll start to notice that, ooh, there's another dynamic to their relationship that I didn't see coming. And I thought that they did a really good job, they stood out, and they really did command my attention whenever they were on screen together. And I know we just talked about them, but Viktor and Allison also have a really strong strong chemistry together. Now, this to me is the penultimate relationship in season 3 among both the Umbrellas and the Sparrows, because my goodness, do they both bring it here. And there are some instances where I do feel like the show might have been even stronger if they did focus on both of them much more. I felt every argument, every hug, and every moment of dialogue. It was just so well done. And hey, it doesn't hurt that both of them pretty much had the lion's share of character development and exploration of their characters internally. So let's move on to the last positive that I have before we get into the negatives, guys. And it is that, man, you know what? This season did have a decent bit of intrigue in the middle. I feel like there were decent bits of writing right in the middle of this season that if they would have stuck with that, it might have been for a stronger, or made for a stronger second half of this season. But you know what, guys? Listen, I might have exhausted all of my optimism for the Umbrella Academy Season 3, because now we gotta talk about the negatives, and unfortunately, yeah, Season 3 of the Umbrella Academy is a disappointment. And I'll go one step further, and it pains me to say this, it's not only a disappointing season of television, it's straight up not a good season of television. As a fan of Seasons 1 and 2, man, Season 3 pales in comparison. There's so much that they were getting right at times, but then they went in the opposite direction here. Even the humor, the soundtrack, which this show is known for having a good soundtrack, none of it really meshes together very well. So let's start with the writing and the direction, which to me was the absolute biggest issue this season. I know that the Umbrella Academy is not a grounded drama. Trust me, it is definitely wild. There's a lot of antics here that were pretty fun in seasons 1 and 2, but the formula seems to have run dry by season 3. The end of the world is gonna happen unless our Umbrella Academy can save the day. I mean, we've heard it before, unfortunately, and the stakes just don't feel powerful enough. Instead, it just feels recycled. They do try to break away from the mold a little bit in the finale, but I thought it was just maybe too little, too late. And even the characters, the writing for the characters outside of Viktor, Allison, and Five were pretty poor. And that does include Ben, whom I felt was totally misused, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. And what also made me a little upset with this season is that what was set up in the previous season felt disregarded in some major instances here too. There's no real pace to season 3, you guys. Things just feel like they're thrown on the board and they just try to connect the dots as best they can, but it didn't feel like there was a focused direction for season 3. And I felt that the most, honestly, with episode 1, which is arguably the weakest episode of the series. And then by the end, I was really hopeful that the finale would turn the tide, but instead it continued this trend of being bland, just having uninteresting story beats that left me disappointed and disconnected from the show. And I hate to say this, but some episodes felt like they were a slog up until the very end, 5 minutes before the episode ends, then something happens, but man, that just sort of was a trend this season, and it's never really a good thing. And when it comes to the Sparrow Academy, I'm sure you all have a ton of questions about the Sparrow Academy itself, but man, I'm sorry to say, they were wasted. And I don't mean because they were drinking, I actually mean that the show itself this season felt like they took what a interesting concept could have been and just really kind of threw it by the wayside. I was more interested in the Sparrow Academy in the 5 minutes that they showed them at the end of season 2, or maybe it could have been 1 or 2 minutes, than I was for the entirety of season 3. They're used for pretty bad jokes, humor that's not really effective, half-baked character moments, and sometimes they're just there to prop up the plot. They don't really have a lot of gravitas on their own. And don't get me wrong, there's some good acting talent among our Sparrows, but the show just didn't know how to tap into their potential. And that brings us to Justin H. Min, who I thought did an incredible job in season 2 and in season 1 as Ben. Yes, we don't get him a lot, but I felt like maybe they were setting up for a really solid season of television with 3 to feature Justin H. Min's acting, and they just don't know how to use him in this instance, and they write him as this bad boy, but he's not a likable bad boy. He's just there. He's just a jerk. There's little to no growth with his character, and by the end I almost felt like, what was the point of us following him around in some solo moments if this was the payoff we were gonna get? And him playing a jerk honestly just doesn't ring genuine to me either, so I wish this season did a good job at making me care about the Sparrows themselves, but that to me just felt like they fumbled it around, and eventually by the end, I don't really feel any more connected to the Sparrows than I did by the end of season 2. And even most of the actors outside of the Sparrows hardly did anything for me. Yet again, Luther's storyline was the weakest. Now, do I think Tom Hopper's a bad actor? No, I don't want to say that, but I just don't think he's very good in this show, and the character of Luther doesn't really help him either. This character is so weak in terms of what they've done with the character through 3 seasons now, and there is a storyline that they have in season 3, even an episode that really surrounds him and someone else, and I thought this just feels out of place. And hey, I love Robert Sheehan as Klaus, but in this season, his character is reduced to a shell of himself. And to me, a lot of his jokes this season fell flat as well. I just really wish the humor all around was effective, but it's not, and I do feel like Klaus is just sort of present. Maybe one episode I will tell you that I was connected to him and some other character that he was with. I don't want to say who because I don't want to spoil anything, but man, it's a shame. And I can't even tell you that Comfiore, I'm sorry if I mispronounce his name, as Reginald was convincing either in this season. But hey, I don't want to dwell on that because as you can tell, I'm pretty disappointed in this department. But let's move on to now the production because, hey, listen, I understand the Umbrella Academy is not going to have the production of some of these bigger Marvel movies, DC movies, but wow, the production in season 3 was pretty bad. It took me out of the season in several moments. I mean, most notably in the first half of the season where the green screen and CGI was pretty poorly done. It's so noticeable, and for a show that I've never had this issue with before, I almost wondered what happened in season 3. Could it have been COVID that made things a lot more difficult? Sure, but man, was it noticeable, and golly, did it break any sort of tension that I might have felt in any scene that involved green screen. And even the soundtrack felt all over the place, you guys, but not in a good way. It's eclectic, sure, but some of the songs just don't really resonate with me. And maybe that is a me thing. Maybe some fans will appreciate some of these songs, but I can only tell you there are maybe 2 scenes where songs were used and I thought, okay. There's also an offender in the first episode where they play Footloose, and let's just say that there's this montage that feels incredibly out of place. So yeah, I would say the music choices don't really aid exactly what we're seeing on screen in most instances here in the season. And then you have season 3 ending on such a flat note, and here I am hopeful for a grand season finale that would maybe get me excited for season 4, but oh gosh, I'm not even excited for the next season. Will I watch it? Of course I will, because I want this show to be good. I'm rooting for this show, but season 3, boy, I didn't expect season 3 to be the one season of this series that fell completely flat. Gosh, there was just so much confusion in that finale, not in a good way. I understand that they're not going to reveal everything at once. They need to kind of keep you guessing for the next season, but even some of the confusing bits that they gave to us, I was just like, this is what we were leading up to? This is the finale for the season? It's so weak. So kind of starts off poorly and it ends poorly. Fitting for this season, I guess. So overall, you guys, I am just really disappointed in season 3 of the Umbrella Academy. I wish I could tell you that this was a strong season. I want to come on here and tell you that, boy, I loved everything about this season like I did with seasons 1 and 2, but this is by far the weakest season of this show, and it really kind of killed my confidence for a season 4. Now, there are some good takeaways here. Of course, if you're a fan of this series, I do recommend you still dive into this season of television, but for me, I only came away loving Emmy, Raver-Lampman, Elliot Page, and Aidan Gallagher. Everyone else felt misused or they just felt out of place. And that's never a good thing in a show that has 10 episodes. Could they have maybe cut down this season a little bit? Sure, especially if that's how you're going to end season 3. But I do wish that I could tell you I love this show. I mean, I love season 1 and 2, but season 3, boy, this is not one of the best seasons of television I've seen. And I didn't expect it to be perfect, don't get me wrong, you guys. I just expected it to be better than this. So if you had to ask me, what the heck are you even rating season 3? Well, gosh, if I throw the number out there, will you get mad? Probably give it like a 6 out of 10. Maybe a 5 out of 10? Okay, I'll go 5 out of 10. I'm sorry, guys. Season 3 of the Umbrella Academy, I just wish it was more memorable, but instead I'm coming away from this thinking, all right, I want to move on now, and that's never a good thing. I want this to resonate, but it didn't do that. So there you have it, you guys. That's my real review of the Umbrella Academy Season 3. Again, I wish I could tell y'all this is great, but I did not really enjoy my time with this. But let me know down below if you agree with me, disagree with me, or if you kind of fall in the middle, because if you loved it, I want to hear why you loved it. So go ahead and get loud down below, and don't forget to hit the big red button and subscribe to the channel, guys, and tap on that bell. Hit the thumbs up button also, because it does a ton to help this video and the channel. And guys, I'm so excited for the rest of this month into next month. And yeah, we are in summer movie season, so you can definitely expect a lot of reviews, a lot of reactions, a lot of breaking news, and we're definitely going to pray about Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix. We need a trailer, right? When are we getting the trailer, Netflix? Well, guys, again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. And I'm not gonna carry a briefcase around anytime soon. I don't want to be transported somewhere else, no.